Hello and welcome to the Real Estate Regroup Show. I am your host, LJ Walker, real estate investor, helping you realize your dreams of either owning a home or investing in one. So, one of the top questions that's been appearing on Bigger Pockets is, should I sell my primary residence or should I rent it out? So, I decided that I would take that question on and answer it myself. Here goes. Well, a lot of it is that it depends. It depends on where exactly is your property located. Okay. Is your property located in an area where people want to rent in the first place? You know, there are some places where people don't want to rent. There are certain places where people want to buy. Okay. Also, does your property, is it in an area where there are jobs available? Because typically, if there are a lot of jobs openings, that means that people do want to go there and rent. Okay, so if that's the case, then renting it may be one of the best possibilities. Now, the other thing I would think about is, besides money, there's also peace of mind. And that is, how far away are you moving from your primary residence? Are you going to be living in an area where you're more than 3 hours away driving, or really more than an hour away driving? If it's more than an hour away driving, then you have to consider the cost of hiring a property manager. Then you're going to need to find out, well, how much do property managers cost in that area? And will the rent that I receive cover the cost of property management, if it's going to be more than 1 hour drive away, or by train or bus? Okay, however it is that is your preferred mode of transportation to get to that property. Trust me, if it takes too long, it's not going to be, it's not going to be, you know, that good of a thing. Now, there are some people who will move to another country and they will have their neighbors assist them instead of hiring a property manager. Do you want your neighbors in your business like that? Are your neighbors good landlords? Do they know anything about being a landlord? How well do you trust them? Okay. And then, of course, that does limit the tenant pool, because you do have people who, yes, many people are comfortable with doing direct deposits, depositing the rent directly into your account, either through Zelle, Venmo, Cash App. But then you have some people that are not comfortable with it at all. A lot of older people, baby boomers, and even some people, I'm ashamed to say it, Gen Xers, older ones though, that they would rather put the money in your hand. They're not into using Venmo. And if you tell them that, then they will not rent from you. You're going to have, your pool as far as who to choose from is going to be a lot slimmer, a lot smaller, right? Because now you're investing either out of state or overseas or whatever, wherever it is that you're moving to, wherever is your new primary residence is going to be. So you have to think, consider all of that. What type of tenant are you going to get? Are you going to get a regular tenant? Are you going to get a Section 8 tenant? If you're going to get a Section 8 tenant, then you need to think of, well, what repairs need to be made on a home. See, when you rent to a regular tenant, there are certain things that they'll overlook. For example, the slash on the windows, the sash on the windows. Section 8, from what I understand, I have never rented to Section 8, just so you know, but I know people who have. They look at every single solitary detail. So you need to find out, will your property pass inspection? If the answer is no, you need to find out, well, how much is it going to cost for the property to pass inspection? Then you're looking at contractors. Okay. So repairs are definitely important and definitely should be a factor as far as if you want to sell it the way it is, or if you want to rent it. The other thing you may want to think about is the state that your primary residence is at right now, is it a landlord-friendly state or not? Because if it's a landlord-friendly state, then typically, not always, but typically you will have more rights as a landlord. However, if it's not a landlord-friendly state, you'll have lesser rights. And not only will you have lesser rights, the other problem that all states are facing, whether they're landlord-friendly or not, is that the court system is backed up tremendously. You see, what's going on is because of COVID, because so many lawyers and judges have left the field and decided to do what they always wanted to do and enjoy, because they are able to work remotely, many of them, not all. But because of this, there's the number of lawyers and the number of judges that are willing to appear in person has dwindled significantly. The staff in the courthouses, the other staff members in the courthouses, that's also dwindled because people decided, you know what, I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to do what I've been, wanting to do my whole life. And so they've quit. And then, of course, you have many that died. I'm in a state, New York, where we have physically lost many people to various illnesses, not just COVID-19, but because so much so much attention was placed on COVID-19, people who had, let's say, stomach cancer, heart attacks. I dealt with this personally with my brother and my aunt, so I know what I'm saying. Breast cancer, my cousin died of that, all the same year, within the same month, time span. Because of that, we physically don't have the manpower to do these jobs. And so that has backed up the system tremendously. On top of that, when they passed the law, the moratorium, many people did not pay and still have not paid their rent. So a lot of buildings in New York, apartment buildings, when it comes to maintenance, they're far behind. The other thing with maintenance and repairs is because, again, of what happened with COVID, even though it's a few years ago, everybody has noticed that the price of fixing certain things has, in many cases, tripled. I recently just upgraded my lock on my door, my tenant's door, and that used to cost me $100. Now it costs me $425. That's what I just paid to have the lock fixed. Okay, so you need to look at the cost. You need to look at the whole entire cost. All right. And then now some people, what they've decided to do is instead of making it a straight rental, they may do a short-term rental. Right? you got to look to see whether or not your area even allows for short-term rentals. It may not. If it doesn't allow, then you can basically just scrap that out. But if it does allow for short-term rentals, then what a lot of people do is the cleaners that they hire, which typically is cheaper than actually getting the property manager. They use the cleaners as the property manager, and they have the cleaners not only clean the place, but they also have them report if there's any problems with that short-term tenant. Okay, and then again, you have to see whether or not short-term rentals, outside of the fact whether it's legal, will it be profitable in your area? Like where is your property located at? Are you near hospitals? Because if you're near hospitals, then you got the travel nurses. I understand that even that population has dwindled down. But as you know, with travel nurses, you can charge more than a regular tenant. If you're near a college, a lot of colleges, they need to expand. They're looking to expand. Some of them have already signed for eminent domain to take over many different neighborhoods and what have you. So if you're near colleges, then you can definitely advertise to students and the professors that work there. If you're near an airport, then you have crash pads, and then you can rent to pilots and stewardesses. You know, those are the people that you can target. In addition to, of course, going to insurance companies who need to place people. Also, do you have a government procurement contract? Because if you have a government procurement contract, then you can also, which is free, you can also put up that you're available for government housing, disaster recovery housing, for what is it now? Like there are some buildings that are converting from regular tenancy to co-op or condos, and they need to place those people while their buildings are being worked on. But you can't get that unless you have a government contract. Okay, so basically my answer is not a straight yes, go ahead and rent it out, or yes, go ahead and sell it, because there's too many different factors involved. The market is a factor. The expenses is a factor, and the laws are a factor when it comes to whether or not you should sell it outright or keep it. Oh, and let me not forget peace. Peace of mind. Do you have the time? Can you handle the stress? Do you have systems in place to minimize the stress in case it happens? And to be honest, you can have systems in place and still get a little stressed out. Let's not get that twisted. I know some people will be like, well, if you had this system, no, you can have a system. You still have to go to court with it. Going to court can be stressful. Okay? Because I know my cousin, she had a tenant that took advantage of that moratorium situation, and she did not get any rent for a whole year. Even when the moratorium was over, she still didn't get any rent from that particular tenant, and she waited a whole year just to be in court. So, yes, this is why it's not a straight yes, and it's not a straight